Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's a horse thing. Today I am actually doing something a little bit different. I had someone ask on one of my things if I could do a diorama, which, if I'm completely honest, I started one back in October. But the thing is, I burnt myself out trying to make this for a school project. Basically, the project was I had to spend 20 hours doing something I haven't done before. So, of course, I haven't made a really nice barn for my Schleich. So yes, I did do this for a school project, and yes, I did present this. However, I tried to do it in like 2 months, because I wanted to do something else, and I kind of included that in my 20-hour project. Anyway, I ended up switching to this, and this is what I did. By the way, since this was way before I started YouTube, this barn's layout is made to be like a replica of Daisy Stahl's barn that she made. And this is where we start talking about, so this was my barn picture reference, so this is what Daisy Stahl's was doing, and I did watch both of these many times. Her stuff is absolutely amazing. So then I had the barn picture references continued, so this is kind of what I wanted my tack room to look like. I really wanted these little cute shelves. I wanted it to be kind of messy, you know, but still have enough of a space for the blankets and the saddle pads and the tack and all that. And then I really wanted a wash stall, also just like Daisy Stahl, so I was working on that. And then here were some ideas for my stables themselves, which again, also pretty much following Daisy Stahl's. So then we had to go to Lowe's, so I don't know if you guys have a Lowe's or not. I don't know where in the world has what. My dad actually went to Lowe's with me because I really needed help getting wood that was going to be sturdy enough for me to be able to carry this if I need to, and to be able to withstand everything I'm doing to it, and be able to like drill it and glue stuff to it and it be able to hold up. And then this was me getting wood. So that was I still have that shirt. And the wood that I got for the barn and some little sticks that I used for the roof later on. So then I went to measuring the wood, and this was so tedious. And I did end up using Daisy Stahl's reference for the most part. Her stuff was in centimeters. I kind of did it like that, but I also did mine a little bit differently. So there was me measuring all of that out, and that took literally forever. Yeah, and then you can see off to the left what the board ended up looking like. So then cutting the wood, my dad was the one who did this because I did not want to use the saw, nor was he really a fan of me using it anyway. So he went through and he cut all my pieces out for me. He cut my roof, he cut my walls, he cut my windows, he did everything. And then this was literally terrible. So that first picture that popped up, I had a little bit of issues with the windows, so I had to go through and use some wood filler. And then this random assortment of stuff was to keep my barn up. So I got my water bottle, I got some tissue boxes, I think I had like some popcorn kernels, yeah, some syrup, some mugs, you know, just kind of whatever I could really use. And then that top picture has a little like skillet looking thing on it, sort of. I don't really remember what that was. That's not what a skillet is. Anyway, it was super heavy and it weighed it down, that middle piece. I was standing in my painting and it took way too long. So this is, you can kind of see here, I was starting to figure out where I wanted bricks on the floor to go. However, what I did was I took some paint and I actually put sand in it. And I used like a sponge and I dabbed it on, if that makes any sense, and it made like a really cool concrete then. Then when I sat the barn up, the wood stain, DIY wood stain, was basically just some water that had a whole bunch of paint in it, and I used that as my wood stain. And I sat it up and it started running into the white, and I was like, oh crap, no. Then we had fixing the roof and the trim. So the roof looked terrible. I'm just telling you that right now. It was just a little piece of wood. So I went ahead and cut some little dowels up, and I did this to the roof. So I added a little beam in and then more beams along the top. So then we had these miniature bricks. Can I just tell you right now, this took forever. I think I spent over 20 hours on these alone. So I was kind of looking at some places that could sell me some bricks. I think I looked on Etsy and so on Amazon and all that. The issue was they were too expensive for the amount I was going to need. So what I ended up doing was I just made over 1,000 bricks because I wanted them so bad. So I used some plaster of Paris, and put a little bit of paint in it. And they all came out really cool and really different. And of course I had my little half pieces down there. And yeah, I made over 1,000 of those. I think on that tray was about 200. And so then I went in and I started putting the bricks down, which was really, really cool. You can see right now how amazing that looks. I used a ruler to keep them all straight, but like honestly, I don't regret doing it at all. It looks amazing. You can see that the windows are starting to take some form in here, but just so you know, those windows are coming out. They are not staying like that. So that was as far as my project got. And at that point, it was like the end of November, so my semester was ending, and I was like, okay, well, I can just kind of put this in my closet and forget about it for a little bit. And as the months went by, I kind of wanted to work on it, but at the same time, I really just wanted to give up and stop working on it because I really burnt myself out with everything I was trying to do, and I was so excited to try and accomplish this, but then it just felt like so much to do. But then I ended up watching an artist talk by DJB, and basically she ended up saying, even if the project is a really big thing and you may not love it completely, always finish it, because it may come out better than you think it's going to, and you may love it more than you thought you ever would. But at least finish the art and don't give up on it and never throw anything away. So that's what I ended up doing. It is now the middle of July in 2023, and I am back working on this project. So we did end up putting in the cement back in November, but what I ended up doing was deciding I was going to use plaster of Paris. So I had like my Cinderella puzzle box, I had a piece of wood, I had a leveler, I had some paint, and a disposable bowl, and a cup of water, and all this nice paper. So then I started mixing up my plaster of Paris. So, I got my powder, and I put a whole bunch in the bowl, okay? Like, as much as could fit in there, all right? And then I put in even more, as much as I could get, okay? That is very important for what I'm going to say here in a few minutes. And then I just decided to go ahead and start putting some water in it and my paint, and I mixed it all up. Alright, so usually I do voiceovers when I'm editing, but I'm going to try and capture my frustration right now. So, I use plaster of Paris, and I mixed up this whole big bowl, right? It hardened way too fast. This is a much lighter gray than I wanted it to be. So now I'm trying to decide if I want to even try and go over this. I don't even know how I'm going to get up in between here because this was already a wreck and I got to go back and do that. I have to mix more up, and I wasted like 3/4 of the bowl. And now that it's wet, it just looks like a wreck. So now I'm like, do I want to cover it? Because what if it stays like that? Oh, and let's not even mention over here. I'm really upset about what happened right there. I wanted like a door to go here anyway, but I'm like, what is that? And these are the times where I'm like, do I just want to quit? And quit I did not do. So after talking with my mom when she came home, we ended up just deciding we were going to chisel it all off. All of it. The cement, the plaster of Paris, everything back down to the wood floor. And this took a really long time because at first we were trying to use the Dremel, but then we realized the chisel was quicker. And thank you, Mom, for actually being the one who chiseled it all off, because I just looked at her and I said, I don't know if I can do this without like ruining the whole project. So then we got it all off, and I had a nice, fresh, clean start. Then after chiseling it all off, we had some issues with the bricks. So what I did before we took all this off was I just like rubbed some brown pastel on it to try and make it look a little bit dirty and rougher. And then also what I did was I put Mod Podge on top of it to kind of seal it and make it shiny, make sure the pastel doesn't get everywhere, including on my hands, because then it would get everywhere else on the barn, which I also did this back in October, same as the pastel. And it was just that it needed another coat since chiseling took a lot of it and messed it up. And these are the bricks after I was done, and they look great. So then my mom actually went looking for another floor idea for us, and she found something great, I mean for me, but basically it's a tutorial by Joann's Minis. And what you do is you take some paint and you mix it all up, and then you add in some glue and some cornstarch, and that's going to really thicken it up. And, well, we actually had to end up adding some water to it because it got way too thick and we weren't able to spread it. But then we added sand to it. And this mixture combined, when it dries, is nice and hard and looks just like concrete, which, you know, I did actually end up trying to use like cement, and it looked just like concrete. It was absolutely amazing. But we did run into a few issues along the way. You know, because just nothing in this project can be easy for me. So the issue was that we started putting it down, but then we realized that it was not going to rise up to meet the bricks. It was going to be super flat. So then we started putting cardboard down to try and get it higher. But the issue was for the large area, the cardboard was rolling up. So we took that off and we decided to use felt, but then some areas had cardboard and some areas have felt, and it was a whole big thing. But when we tried to put it on, okay, and if you have not watched my short, I'm just going to go ahead and explain it to you. It did not stick to the felt, the concrete mixture. So we were literally taking like a squeegee thing and we were trying to press it into the felt as hard as we could. I mean, cardboard, no problem. It laid on just fine, the areas that weren't like rolled up. But when we used the felt, that was a whole other issue that we had to worry about. But after we got it all done and it dried, I think this literally took us like 3 hours, maybe 2. I decided to go back the next day and actually mix up some more. Because what happened the day before, I had to make like 4 different bowls of it because we kept running out. So it was like all different colors. So I made 1 bowl that would be enough to cover it again just to make sure that it was thick, because we were trying to water it down and then we were worried it wasn't going to dry because the water was seeping into the felt, and we're like, well, this might just not work. I let that completely dry, and then the next day I went and I put a layer of paint all over it. I just like brushed it on and to make it all very, very uniform. And then me and my mom went outside and we actually sprayed it with my matte spray, which you would see more in a customizing video, but we did actually use that to seal it, which is great because then it was super sturdy when it came back inside, and it was like dry and it was not bending or squishing at all, which I could kind of do beforehand. Like if I took my fingers and I pressed down on it, it would squish because of the felt. But after that, it was completely hard and set, and it was great. So then I painted some little strips with arbor green for the windows, which my mom said she would do. So in the meantime, while those dried, I actually have some, it's basically wood stain, but it's like DIY wood stain. So basically it's just really, really watered down paint that's brown, and it actually makes really, really nice wood stain. So I've used it for my walls, but I decided to use it for these popsicle sticks, which are going to be the dividers between the stalls. But of course I had to sit here and stain all of them. I think I sat here staining 100 popsicle sticks with 4 layers each for like 3 hours. And actually they're going to dry overnight before I start cutting them to make the dividers. However, I think they did get dark enough to match the walls, which I really, really hope, because I don't think they're going to take any more wood stain at this point. They can only hold so much in them, and I think it's basically at its point now. However, I will start gluing those the next day and start working on the dividers. However, in the meantime, I started working on this roof back in October, as I have mentioned. And the issue with that was I just kind of shoved some popsicle sticks on it. Lovely, smart, bright, intelligent me, right? So I ended up just trying to use these scissors Oh, crap. Ow. To get them all off, and I about, like, broke my hand in the process, and things were, like, flying out windows. It was crazy. But what we decided we were going to do was me and my mom. She found a little thing that a guy did. I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. But we had some green paper that, like, matched the green paint I was using. And we're just going to make shingles out of those and glue them to the roof instead. But, of course, I had to get all the popsicle sticks off first. After I decided to take a break, my mom saw how much I was struggling and found a chisel that I forgot we had. And she was just chiseling all the popsicle sticks off. Now these were actually like flying out the window, and then this happened. Izzy, don't eat them. She's like, what's that? But we just kept on going. I helped her where I could, and eventually we were able to get all of the popsicle sticks off, even though it took quite a little bit, and then there was a whole bunch of glue. And we took all the border edges off as well, so we had to sand all of that down, and we took like a towel and put it underneath, because no way was I having more sanding bits get on the walls that I just painted and the floor I just finished. So we did that, and now we're going to start cutting up some shingles. So then I started working on these stall dividers, so I'm just going to talk here while you kind of look at what I'm doing, because now I'm already adding the trim to what I've already done. So I had these popsicle sticks, okay, and I made some DIY wood stain, which I think I've talked about before in this video at some point, and it's basically just really watered down paint. So I took all my popsicle sticks and I gave them all 4 layers of wood stain, and I think I did like 50 or 75. I don't know how much was in the pack. Anyway, so I did all that. I let them dry overnight on their side, which was really hard, like on that tiny little side, not the wide side. So that way the staining wouldn't like get everywhere and make them discolored. So I did that, and then the next day I came back and I cut them all to be, it was like 2 inches and a 1/16, no, 2 inches and an 1/8. And I made them all that length, sanding down the edges, and then I slowly glued them all together, and I had to glue them in pairs because otherwise they were all just falling apart. So I glued like one to the other and then left that pair to dry, and then I would glue one to the other and left that pair to dry, and then I would take the 2 sets of 2 and 2 and glue those together. And it just took a really, really long time, but they ended up coming out pretty nice. And so once those were dry, they were a little lopsided in some areas, so I took some balsa wood that I had, and I just, like, cut strips. I think it was, like, not even a quarter of an inch, maybe another 1/8 of an inch. And so I cut those strips up and then painted them green, including the edge, that way you wouldn't see it. And once those dried, I gave them like 3 coats. Now you can see what I'm doing with those here, which is gluing them down to the wood. You can see right there, I took my little trim and I cut it accordingly and did that. And then I stood up against the box simply to make sure it was all straight, and then I had to add these clips because it was just wanting to fold upwards. So I did this on the top and the bottom of both sides, which the really annoying part was, there's my mom, one of them bowed weird, so I had to put that under a whole bunch of stuff to make sure that it was going to end up straight. So I did that, and like the heavy objects weighed it down enough for it to become straight again, and now I'm just letting them dry overnight. And this video is already getting pretty long, so this is where I'm going to end part 1, although don't worry, there will definitely be a part 2, and if I don't finish it in part 2, there will be a part 3. Don't worry, you guys will definitely see the finished product. Trust me, I am very excited to see it as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please consider checking out my Etsy shop. I sell repainted models, tack, and custom horses. Make sure to subscribe to see more horse content, and I hope you have an amazing day. Goodbye.